Hey guys, what's going on? Blaine back for another Netflix review, and today I'm going to be talking about Warriors of Future. Warriors of Future is a Hong Kong science fiction film that tells the story of a group of soldiers in a future version of Hong Kong. The city has been completely overtaken by a form of extraterrestrial life, which results in humans living in a post-apocalyptic society that's about to get worse. An impending storm threatens to accelerate the growth of the life form taking over Hong Kong, which could spell the doom of the city altogether. Due to this, a group of soldiers lead a top-secret mission to destroy the life form at its core while uncovering a conspiracy in the process. This movie is about as generic can be for science fiction. There is a lot of ambition as far as the scale behind its presentation goes for a Hong Kong production, but when compared to many other sci-fi movies of its kind everywhere else, it doesn't do much more than blend in with the crowd. If there was one character I could consider to be the protagonist, it would be Johnson Chang. He just seemed to be the one who displayed the most initiative, as he has to make tough decisions over the loss of life for the upcoming conflict, and this makes him more sympathetic on an emotional level. However, there isn't really much more to say regarding characters other than that. There is a character named Tyler who sort of has a rapport with Johnson and has a tragic past involving the death of his daughter, but it never really plays a significant role in the story. Even with Johnson taken into consideration, every single one of the characters are generic soldiers with next to zero personality. They all speak in military lingo and express themselves in the same dull manner as everyone else. There were times where I even confused one for the other because they all acted the same. Occasionally, there is some sort of buddy dynamic expressed between the soldiers, or they might have an emotional scene of some sort, but these things only pop up for a brief moment and then they're forgotten about almost immediately after. The characters all have the same goal and barely have anything else to distinguish them apart that lasts more than a few seconds, so they all end up boring. The only character that really stood out for me was Taryn Yao, who's this kind of unhinged ex-soldier guy with one eye who dresses flamboyantly. He has some interesting history with Johnson and Tyler that's explained in a little bit of detail, and it's fun to see him blow stuff up with his signature gun. While the characters are disappointing, the movie's world was actually pretty solid in execution. I like how it blends a futuristic Hong Kong with all the flora that covers the area, which is called Pandora. It combines artificial and natural environments, or old versus new if you will, and it just looks cool to see how everything intertwines with each other. While it's weird with how inconsistent Pandora's growth ends up being despite it supposedly being boosted anytime it rains, it's still cool to see it in action. It starts with one form of the plant and then other forms before moving on to aliens. There's a sense of progression involved with how the soldiers carry out their mission, and it's nice to see everything play out, especially with how creative the visuals can be. There's a lot of effort put into the production design and overall visual presentation of this movie's world. Even the military environments have a lot of thought put into them, with all the big computers and aircraft that they use. As far as the creativity goes behind how the movie looks, it's on point. The quality of these visuals, though, tend to vary at times. The special effects look dodgy, especially at the beginning with how washed out some of the textures are, and anytime there isn't any plant matter on screen, the movie has a consistently gray color tone that only makes everything more unappealing to look at. There's also a big problem going on with how often the movie uses slow-mo in inappropriate times. It looks okay whenever aliens and soldiers' mech suits are on screen, as they're supposed to move in an unnatural way, but whenever it's just people talking to each other and anything remotely dramatic happens, it's distracting to the moment and looks really off-putting. Thankfully, the action scenes are fun enough to make for an entertaining distraction from these things. Although they're basic in scope, it does feature some variety with fights taking place in the air, on foot, and even a car chase that ends up being the standout action scene of the movie. In between these action scenes, there's even more variety with the mission itself. The soldiers' mission takes them to a hospital, leaping through underground chasms, and navigating the city above ground. They're constantly on the move and never stay in one place, which does help keep the story fresh to a certain extent. Every now and then, there are subplots that come up between the characters that attempt to flesh them out more, which would be a welcome addition, except that these subplots aren't all that good. Instead of expanding upon the characters more, they distract from the narrative and even convolute it. There's a romance involved with one of the soldiers that's barely developed, a little girl is found who barely does anything other than resemble Tyler's deceased daughter, and there's some sort of secret plan involving the mission commander that's never fully explained. There's no real effort to connect all these subplots to the main one. They feel like they're there just for the sake of padding out the runtime. In the end, the movie's just another generic sci-fi where the military saves the world from an alien invasion. It even starts with a typical exposition dump showing how the world got to where it was, which is just lame, and it borrows a lot of elements from other sci-fi movies that were done better in those ones. The ships look like the ones from Avatar, the suits look like Iron Man, the robots behave like those in Terminator, it even has its own version of Skynet, and the aliens remind me of everything from Edge of Tomorrow, to Starship Troopers, to, well, aliens. It even has an obligatory post-credit scene in the same vein as every other Marvel and DC superhero movie out there. This isn't to say that movies can't successfully copy from other movies in their own way, and in fairness, seeing a movie like this come out of Hong Kong is extremely impressive. It's clear that a lot of love and passion went into making it as a Hong Kong movie, but it's lacking the same passion when it comes to its story and originality. Overall, Warriors of Future is the latest of many bland alien invasion movies that is fine to watch, but it fails to stand out in any way. If you like sci-fi movies centering around aliens and you don't mind watching one that's more on the bland side of things, you might enjoy watching this. I can appreciate the ambition behind this movie, and it is fun to watch in parts, but there's just nothing unique about it. It approaches its story and characters with little in the way of enthusiasm, making it feel more antiquated in approach as opposed to futuristic as its title suggests. What did you think about this movie? Do you think it was a landmark achievement for Hong Kong cinema, or did you find it uninspired instead? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways guys, that's going to wrap up my review of Warriors of Future. Thanks for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed it, and as always stay tuned for the next part, where next time I review the British-American romantic drama, Lady Chatterley's Lover. Bye bye!